Nomination period for the Legislative Council election begins today. Donald Trump says he will meet Xi Jinping next Thursday, but Beijing has not yet confirmed the meeting. A farewell ceremony was held in Beijing for the late Nobel laureate Yang Zhenning. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. Today is the first day of the nomination period for the Legislative Council election. Candidates from different constituencies started to submit their nomination forms. The polling day is on December 7th. Mimosa Ngai reports.
On Friday morning, the Democratic Alliance for the Betterment and Progress of Hong Kong, or DAB, held a morale-boosting event in Sha Tin. The party, which hosts the most seats in the LegCo, decided to field 26 candidates for the December election. 14 of its 19 incumbent legislators will seek re-election. DAB Vice Chairman Holden Chow said the election will be an uphill battle, but the party is ready.
We do need people who deliver. We do need people who walk the walk.
DAB Chairman Gary Chan and his deputy Chang Hok Fong, who are running for the New Territories North East and Hong Kong Island West constituencies, respectively, submitted their forms on the first day of nomination. DAB Secretary General Chris Ip is another party member who handed in his application. He will run for the New Territories South East constituency. Ip said he hopes to be able to construct a suitable living environment for the public. One of Ip's opponents is Christine Fong, the Sai Kung District Councillor who has run in LegCo elections 5 times. Fong said she hopes to enter the LegCo to be a voice for the people. The Hong Kong Federation of Trade Unions, or FTU, will field 16 candidates, with 7 being current legislators. One of them is Danny Ng, president of the FTU. He's running for the Hong Kong Island East constituency and submitted his form today. He said each election is a new start, and that seniority does not mean you have an advantage. Other candidates who are seeking re-election, including Tang Ka-piu, Lok Chok Hong, and Jovi Chan. They are contesting in the Kowloon East, New Territories Northwest, and New Territories Southwest constituencies, respectively. Peter Siu from the Liberal Party hopes to get re-elected for his position in the wholesale and retail functional constituency. Meanwhile, Priscilla Learn, a member of the Business and Professionals Alliance for Hong Kong, joined the LegCo election race, hoping to secure her place in the election committee constituency. Learn said she will do her best to take part in the election. The nomination period starts now and ends on November 6th. A total of 90 members will be elected for the new Legislative Council term. Memos 9, TVB News.
The Hong Kong and Macau Affairs Office published a commentary emphasizing that LegCo elections must not be interfered with or disrupted, and that vigilance must be exercised against the resurgence of anti-China and Hong Kong disrupting elements and external forces. Mimosa Ngai again.
The 8th Legislative Council election has officially begun. The commentary, titled "Elections Must Not Be Interfered With or Disrupted," says that the successful holding of this election will be of great significance and have far-reaching impact in improving Hong Kong's governance and prosperity, while promoting high-quality democracy that suits Hong Kong's realities. However, anti-China and Hong Kong disruptive forces have never ceased their interference and disruption of the elections, and vigilance must be exercised against their resurgence. The article points out the recent emergence of bizarre theories aimed at disrupting the elections, such as fabricating the false proposition of central government interference in the elections and spreading so-called blessing lists. Their fundamental purpose is to invalidate the new electoral system, challenge the central government's overall jurisdiction, attack the SAR government's governing authority, undermine Hong Kong's sound governance and prosperity, and attempt to plunge Hong Kong back into political chaos. It says voters should be vigilant and discern malicious intentions, adding that the SAR's law enforcement and judicial agency will not sit idly by. The commentary says any attempt to interfere with or disrupt the election will fail. Memos 9, TVB News.
The Foreign Ministry says President Xi Jinping will attend the APEC summit in the South Korean city of Gyeongju from next Thursday to Saturday. This as the White House announced U.S. President Donald Trump and Xi would meet next Thursday. Danny Zhou has more.
At yesterday's press briefing, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said Trump and Xi will hold talks next Thursday on the sidelines of the APEC summit.
Maybe pertaining.
Trump told a media pool he thought the meeting with the Chinese leader would yield good results that satisfies everyone.
So a meeting with President Xi and
Trump said they would have some big issues with the farmers and various other things. But the first question he would be asking Xi about is fentanyl, he said, and putting it right at the front of the list. Trump also said earlier about his meeting with Xi that he expects to reach a deal with China on rare earths and touch upon topics such as the war in Ukraine. Beijing, which has not yet confirmed the meeting between the two heads of state, said it remains in close communication with Washington. A spokesman for the foreign ministry pledged to release information on the matter in a timely manner if there are any updates. Some analysts suggest the Trump-Xi meeting could be a sign for de-escalation of simmering tensions, as both sides are dialing back trade talks. The Chinese delegation, led by Vice Premier He Lifeng, headed to Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, to kick off a new round of negotiations with U.S. counterparts over the weekend. Meanwhile, the New York Times reported Washington is preparing a probe into Beijing's adherence to the terms of a trade deal signed in 2020. China had promised to purchase a total of $200 billion of U.S. products and services and open its markets to American enterprises, according to the agreement, though the implementation of some terms was impeded by the COVID-19 outbreak. The report said results of the inquiry could be announced as soon as Friday, which may lead to steeper tariffs on Chinese imports. Danny Zhou, TVB News.
A farewell ceremony was held at Beijing's Babaoshan Revolutionary Cemetery this morning for late Nobel laureate Yang Zhening. The solemn ceremony was kept private with tight security to mourn the renowned physicist who passed away last week. A number of groups, including Tsinghua University, where Yang studied and taught, sent representatives to pay their final respects. Yang was born in Anhui Province in 1922. In 1957, he won the Nobel Prize in Physics for the theory non-conservation of parity in weak interactions, along with his Chinese colleague Chen Daoli. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is due in London for talks today with 24 European leaders who have pledged military help to protect his country from Russian aggression. Meanwhile, a Russian overnight drone attack damaged several buildings, including a kindergarten in Kyiv, injuring 8 people. Tracy Furness has more.
The aftermath of an overnight Russian drone strike that damaged a residential building, a kindergarten, office center and synagogue in the Ukrainian capital, leaving large craters in the street, damaged cars and blown out windows in residential buildings. This Ukrainian serviceman said around 12 drones flew, and you can see that is the location of impact. It was not shot down and flew here. Debris destroyed the car that caught fire, and all the windows were smashed. This resident said, "We have gotten used to it, unfortunately. Each day we are expecting some terrible news. Yesterday I saw this explosion from the window and did not know it was a school." Ukraine's Air Force said Russia fired a barrage of 130 strikes and decoy drones across the country overnight. This as wives and mothers of Ukrainian soldiers killed in the fight against Russia planted trees in a public park in Kyiv as a way to remember their sacrifice. Carrying a photo of her deceased husband, this woman said, "It's very painful. We have a small daughter. Unfortunately, he died on her birthday. She was turning 3 years old that day. She is now 5, and now only the 2 of us are left. It's really hard, and we are doing everything for him to be known and remembered." 22 women came, many carrying portraits, planting cherry trees and attaching replicas of their loved ones' military dog tags. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky met with Swedish Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson in Stockholm this week, announcing plans to buy 100 to 150 Swedish-made Gripen fighter jets over the next decade and beyond. Zelensky also spoke again on Russia, pretending to engage in diplomacy only to delay the transfer or sales of Tomahawks to Ukraine, adding, "When Russia is truly ready for diplomacy, we will see it." Tracy Furness, TVB News.
And still ahead, King Charles prayed with Pope Leo to forge closer relations between Church of England and the Catholic Church. John Greenwood, father of the linked exchange rate system, speaks to TVB News about the currency peg. And giant cartoon inflatables getting ready to make a splash at Victoria Harbour. Welcome back. Britain's King Charles III and Queen Camilla prayed with Pope Leo XIV Thursday in a historic visit to the Vatican to forge closer relations between the Church of England and the Catholic Church, a welcome spiritual respite for the royals from the turmoil at home over sexual misconduct allegations against Prince Andrew. Tracy Furness has more.
A Swiss guard standing to attention as Britain's King Charles III and Queen Camilla arrive at Vatican City, met by Monsignor Leonardo Sapienza before receiving military honours. They are then escorted by the Swiss Guard inside the Apostolic Palace, where the royal couple attended a service at the Sistine Chapel, arriving before Pope Leo XIV, who came with the UK's Archbishop of York, Stephen Cottrell.
And to the Son.
This is the first time since the Reformation that the heads of these two major Christian churches, Charles is the titular head of the Church of England, have prayed together. The two churches have been divided over issues for centuries since King Henry VIII split from the Catholic Church in 1534 when he was refused a divorce. Now the issues involve the ordination of female priests. Later, the royal couple travelled to a pontifical basilica that has strong traditional ties to the Church of England, St. Paul's outside the walls, to receive a new formal recognition. The title Royal Confrater is a sign of spiritual fellowship and was reciprocated by Charles. This as Charles gave Leo the title of Papal Confrater of St. George's Chapel, Windsor Castle. The British royals then went out to the streets of Rome to meet the people. Charles and Camilla's visit to the Vatican had been planned for early this year, but was rescheduled after Pope Francis got sick and then died. Charles had strongly wanted to visit the Vatican during the 2025 Holy Year, a once every quarter century celebration of Christianity. Tracy Furness, TVB News.
U.S. President Donald Trump has pardoned Binance founder Changpeng Zhao, who created the world's largest cryptocurrency exchange and served prison time for failing to stop criminals from using the platform to move money. Daniel Rao reports.
White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt announced the pardon, which she said was approved after a thoroughly reviewed request. She said the administration of former U.S. President Joe Biden pursued an egregious over-sentencing in the case, was very hostile to the cryptocurrency industry, and current U.S. President Donald Trump wants to correct this overreach. The pardon caps a months-long effort by Binance founder Changpeng Zhao, a billionaire commonly known as CZ in the crypto world, who is one of the biggest names in the industry. In 2023, U.S. authorities said Binance had failed to report suspicious transactions with organizations including Hamas and Al-Qaeda, and with websites dedicated to selling child sexual abuse materials. Zhao, a citizen of Canada who was born in China, personally paid a $50 million fine and served nearly 4 months in prison last year after pleading guilty to the same charge as his company. However, he kept his Binance stake while one of his appointees was made chief executive. U.S. President Trump explained why he pardoned Zhao.
A lot of people say that he wasn't guilty of anything. He served 4 months in jail, and they say that he was not guilty of anything, that what he did, well, you don't know much about crypto. You know nothing about nothing, you fake news. But let me just tell you that he was somebody that, as I was told, I don't know him. I don't believe I've ever met him. But I've been told by a lot of support. He had a lot of support. And they said that what he did is not even a crime. It wasn't a crime, that he was persecuted by the Biden administration. And so I gave him a pardon at the request of a lot of very good people.
Trump's pardon of Zhao fits into a broad pattern of taking a hands-off approach on the crypto industry. His administration has dropped several enforcement actions against crypto companies and disbanded the crypto-related enforcement team at the U.S. Justice Department. Dan Rell, TVB News.
The Central Committee of the Communist Party of China held a press conference in Beijing to interpret the spirit of the just concluded fourth plenary session. The committee says efforts will be made to further open up and expand market access, citing recommendations of the 15th five-year plan. Authorities say the objective for the next 5 years is to keep the economic growth at a reasonable range, enhance civility, and improve people's quality of life. The upcoming plan puts spotlight on self-reliance and innovation in science and technology. Quantum technology, biomanufacturing, and hydrogen energy were identified as emerging sectors that would become new growth points. Back locally, children under 1.35 meters must use a child restraining device when traveling in private cars starting from November 1st. The current legislation stipulates that kids only require a child restraining device, such as child safety seats, if they are under 3 and travel in the front seat of private cars. Starting from next month, child passengers must use one of those devices in private cars. Children aged 8 or above, or with a height of at least 1.35 meters, must either use a restraining device or wear an adult seat belt. Police may issue a fixed penalty of $230 to offending drivers. John Greenwood, the economist behind the city's linked exchange rate system, which pegs the Hong Kong dollar to the US dollar, says the currency link with the greenback is likely here to stay over the coming few decades, despite geopolitical tensions between China and the US. Speaking with TVB News, Greenwood underscores how the system benefits China as a whole as well. Since 1983, the Hong Kong dollar has been pegged to the US dollar in a bid to stabilize the city's currency. The Hong Kong Monetary Authority manages the linked exchange rate system by buying or selling the Hong Kong dollar to keep its exchange rate within a narrow range at about 7.8 Hong Kong dollars to $1 US. Against the backdrop of trade tensions between the US and China, renewed talks have surfaced about aligning the Hong Kong dollar with the renminbi in place of the greenback. John Greenwood, known as the father of the linked exchange rate system, explains to TVB News why the current peg between the Hong Kong dollar and USD serves not just the interests of the SAR, but also China as a whole.
Renminbi is what we call a non-convertible currency. It cannot be easily transferred into foreign currency. And the mechanism for the Hong Kong dollar peg requires easy transfers in and out. So this linked exchange rate can tolerate very big inflows and outflows, which will avoid impacting or disrupting capital markets in China.
Over the past 6 months, the Hong Kong dollar has touched both the weak and strong ends of its peg in a band of 7.75 to 7.85 Hong Kong dollars to $1 US more than 10 times.
Over the past 5-10 years, to see such sharp movements within a relatively short time frame is unusual. But that doesn't mean that the system is not working. It was designed to accommodate those kind of disturbances. So what we had was this big inflows from IPOs, which pushed the exchange rate up.
He notes various shock absorbers are in place to make the system stable and resilient, while cushioning impact on interest rates.
There's no reason why this peg to the US dollar shouldn't last 100 years if the US dollar remains, global reliable currency.
John Greenwood has also played a continuing role in the Hong Kong Monetary Authority's Exchange Fund Advisory Committee's Currency Board Subcommittee, which hold quarterly meetings and make recommendations to ensure the robustness and transparency of Hong Kong's linked exchange rate system. Concerning the Emirates cargo plane crash, which killed 2 airport staff aboard a patrol car, cargo plane company representatives have met with the airport authority and family of the victims when they discuss possible compensation arrangements. The salvage vessel has been working for 2 days at the crash site of the Emirates cargo plane. Starting Thursday night, another salvage ship also began assisting in the search to recover the aircraft's flight data recorder, commonly known as the black boxes. Objects including what appeared to be an aircraft engine and parts of the landing gear were lifted from the sea, while the cargo plane's company has sent a representative to meet with the family members of the deceased. The labor rights group helping with the relatives says Emirates, which rented the aircraft, has not yet reached out to them. 4 giant cartoon inflatables are poised to make a splash at Victoria's Harbour tomorrow, bringing childhood icons to life on an epic scale. Here's a sneak peek. Slowly fluffing up is the iconic red bean bun or dorayaki, the favorite snack of a popular Japanese robotic cat character, who's none other than Doraemon. Once blown up, the giant inflatable version of Doraemon was hoisted by cranes to take a dip in Hong Kong waters. Joining Doraemon are Labubu, the quirky furry monster IP character who has taken Asia by storm, Elmo from Sesame Street, and McDonald's jolly purple mascot Grimace. They will turn Victoria Harbour off Tema Park in Admiralty into their paddle pool for 8 days starting Saturday. The biggest inflatable reaches a height of 20 meters, surpassing the size of the yellow rubber duck in 2023. Each inflatable takes 23 hours to puff up, with technicians having to step inside to inspect the structure. Learning from the earlier rubber duck exhibition, which deflated under the summer heat, organizers say this time they've chosen a cooler autumn schedule.
過往2年前啦，我哋黃鴨係喺5月份做嘅。
SK Lam of All Rights Reserved adds that the inflatables boast better engineering designs. For instance, Doraemon lying on the red bean bun gives better load support. The fleet will float across Victoria Harbour on November 1st, and the public can view the parade along the harbourfront of Admiralty, Wan Chai, Causeway Bay and Tsim Sha Tsui. Along the central waterfront, a market will offer themed collectibles, games and food stalls. Admission starts at $50 for adults and $40 for children. And that's the news. Have a great weekend and thank you for watching.